What is going on, everybody? You are back on another edition of Ballin over Beers. I am Justin Dueppengiesser, and I am joined, as always, by my guys, AK Howe and James Fitch. Fellas, I got some big news to share for you. I wanted to share it while we record. We have a promo code for Borderfield Sports. If you're looking to go over to the merch and you want to get 15% off, type in the code BALLIN15 and you'll get yourself a little bit of discount. Just out there for the people,
nice.
Trying to give some discounts out, but it is live, so head over to the store, promo code BALLIN15, all caps for the Ballin.
Just slinging deals.
But what helps us to be able to do that is if you like and subscribe to the show. It is very important, so we can give these discounts out. But definitely head over to the merchandise shop over at Borderfield Sports, and you're going to be able to get yourself a little bit of a discount upon checking out. So I thought that was pretty cool. Pretty good way to start the show.
Awesome news.
Yes, it is.
Tonight, we're going to continue our conference and division previews, and we are going to move to the NFC East and the NFC West, as in West. We're going to start with the NFC East because the Cowboys. You guys are shaking your head. No, we're going to start over there, and we got to start with the NFC East, America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. The first thing I think that we need to get out there is the Dak Prescott injury. Obviously, he's coming off of the ankle injury from last year, but now he's dealing with a shoulder thing. They apparently consulted with some baseball teams because it was just some shoulder issues that baseball players deal with. It doesn't seem like it's anything too serious. AK, when you're looking just at like fantasy stuff, or if you're looking at the Cowboys in general, win totals, over-unders, are you worried that Dak is going to miss some time?
With just a little news today, not really. If it escalates, then that's something you definitely want to keep an eye on. But with just that little bit of news today, I'm not really too worried about it. And I mean, just looking at the Vegas lines, they really haven't moved at all, so I don't think they're too worried about it either. So if it keeps escalating, then you might want to change your opinion on where you want to draft him.
I would agree with that. James, any concern on your front?
A little, nothing major. I think we've seen his ADP drop a little bit in best ball and possibly even redraft, but we've still got another month before the season. I don't know if it's a situation where they're just going to like keep him out of the entire preseason. Probably not a bad idea. I don't know how many reps he may need to kind of get back into the swing of things, missing a lot of time last year. I guess it'll be interesting to see how they play things out, but not a huge concern.
No, we've already had a couple coaches say that, they're not going to have guys play at all,
Stafford.
I was going to say McVay said pretty much as long as he's a coach with Los Angeles, Stafford ain't seeing any preseason time. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how things go moving forward, especially with the extra regular game. That's a lot of wear and tear on your body, and you don't need something stupid happening in the preseason, getting people injured. Go ahead.
I was just saying we've got Hard Knocks starting up tonight. It'll be interesting to see if they show kind of anything about the Dak injury and what's going on there. I'm really looking forward to the season of Hard Knocks because I think that the Cowboys have an interesting preseason ahead of them with Dak coming back, with CeeDee Lamb kind of on the rise, with Amari Cooper's injury and stuff like that. I'm interested in seeing how that stuff plays out.
No kidding. The only thing is I wish it wasn't so late. Like, we're recording this at a little after 8:00 at night, and that show's at 10 Eastern, man. I'm going to have to make sure I get some coffee in me or something to stay awake. That is But no, I'm excited too. I always enjoyed Hard Knocks, but other news that I thought was pretty hilarious was the Giants have now had, I think, 3 or 4 players retire this offseason alone, and I don't know if I've ever remembered people who aren't 15 years into their career, guys who've played, 5 to 9 years just retiring like that. Is Joe Judge, and this is kind of it seems to be the theme or the the opinion of people going around that have played in the league, that are seeing the way he's running it, that basically he's trying to be like some tough guy, Patriot way, but everybody's basically saying it's toxic, basically outside of New England. Is Joe Judge getting fired? Is he the first coach fired this year?
He very well could be, or he could get beat up by another coach. He get in a fist fight last year with a coach, and
I don't remember that.
I think that was him. Yeah, now that you say
I
that.
don't remember that. Oh my god, that's funny.
you know,
Um,
you have
his players are
retiring.
fighting.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I think, yeah, absolutely. I didn't think he was a good hire last year. I don't think he's a good coach. I think you see another guy from the Belichick tree trying to do things the way he does. And the only person that can do that and get away with it is Belichick, because he has a history. He has the Super Bowls. He has the reputation for it. I mean, look what happened with the Lions coach, drawing a blank. Matt Patricia. Yeah. I mean, he took the same approach, and it just doesn't work with grown adults that are making millions of dollars. Like, you can't get away with that stuff for the most part. I think you have to earn that respect. And as a new coach, like, he doesn't have that yet.
Matt Patricia made him practice outside in the snow in shorts, and they play in a dome. It's like, what are you doing?
The one thing I was going to say about the Belichick hire that's different than all these other ones is he took over a lot of guys that Bill Parcells had under him. So they're already used to the Bill Parcells like coaching style. And that's, kind of where Belichick got that from. So he took over a team of veterans that already were drafted under Parcells that like that hard ass approach. In today's world, you're just not getting away with that.
Well, the other thing is that by every report of people that have played for the Patriots, most of them will say, yeah, it's really, really difficult to play there and you have to toe the line, but they all love Belichick. They all say he's a great guy and he's like got humor and he jokes around with them. And so he clearly knows how to do it and still connect with the players. These guys are just trying to be hardos and act like, tough guys or whatever. And it's just, it does not seem to work pretty much anywhere any like protege is gone basically. But let's talk odds. The Dallas Cowboys are the division favorite at plus 130. The Washington football team is next at plus 230. The Giants, Mr. Joe Judge's Giants, are at plus 450. And the Philadelphia Eagles are at plus 550. James, we'll start with you. Where are you kind of thinking for division winner? Is that Cowboys number too short? Because my first glance at it, I'm looking at the Washington football team at plus 230, and that seems like the best bet to me for a division winner.
Yeah, that's the direction I go. I think they're going to be the better overall team. Certainly a way better defense. They got better at quarterback, great receiving core, pretty good tight end, great running back. Like it's hard to bet against that team to win the division for the second year in a row. I like them at plus 230. I don't hate Dallas, but I do think that number is a little short. So at plus 230, I like that number, and I just like Washington overall.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with Washington. AK, what about you? Are you kind of on the same page we are? Do you think that some of that Cowboys number is just baked in because they're the Cowboys?
Yeah, I think it's baked in because they're the Cowboys. People like to bet them. I'm one of those people. I like to bet them because of their offense to make the Super Bowl at plus 1,500. But I think the division should be like plus 180, then like maybe plus 200, a little closer. The only thing that worries me about Washington is you don't know if Fitzmagic can put together an entire season. He's going to have 3, 4, 5 games where they just don't have a chance to win because he's going to just play that bad most likely.
I think the big thing that for Fitzy this year is he's really, and he kind of showed it last year with the Dolphins, but I think even more this year, is he really has the weapons around him to really not have to do a ton. Like Terry McLaurin's a stud. You get Curtis Samuel, who we'll talk about, who's dealing with a little bit of an injury right now. But then you get Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, Logan Thomas, Diami Brown, the rookie out of UNC. He's kind of just got to be the piece right now. And like you said, James, with the defense, you're not going to have to lean on him a ton. They're not going to have to go out there and score 30 points a game.
No, I don't think you can. I'd love to picture that conversation between Rivera and Fitzpatrick about being a game manager and not just slinging it. I can't imagine that conversation goes very well. But I mean, realistically, that's all they need out of him. I mean, that's what they got out of Smith and Dewey Haskins and Heineke last year. So you don't need him to come out and be that game manager, but I don't think he's going to do that.
No, I agree. Let's talk conference winner. Cowboys are the favorite in this division for the conference championship as well at plus 1,500. Washington plus 2,500. The Giants plus 4,000 and Philly plus 5,000. AK, do you like any of those numbers for the conference? Because, I mean, if I like Washington to win the division, I don't know if they're good enough to win the conference that has the Bucks and the Packers and all these other teams in it.
I think you have to be able to score points to make the Super Bowl. And if you're betting the Cowboys to win the division, you might as well sprinkle a little bit on them to win the conference, because if their offense is good enough to win the division, their offense is high-powered enough to put together a 2-3 game stretch where they can drop 30, 40 points a game with the receivers and Dak and Elliott and Pollard.
James, is the defense for the Cowboys good enough, though, to get them there? Because, yeah, you do have to score points. There's no question about that. But you have to be competent on defense, and they really haven't been the past few years.
No, I don't see with their defense. I just don't see them getting there.
No, me neither. I think that's the biggest.
The only thing I'm thinking about with their defense is all they got to really do is get turnovers. If they can be an opportunistic defense that get their ball back once in a while, that could help them a lot. And I think that's kind of the style they're going to be going for this year.
No, I do think that makes sense, but I just man, it's a tough sell, I think. Let's talk win totals. So the Cowboys obviously have the highest win total at 9 games, the over being minus 140 and the under being plus 115. I'm going to get sides on all of these teams here for the over-unders. James, do you like the over or under 9 games for the Cowboys?
Ooh. I always want to say push. I like the 9, the 9 number. I think that works out to be still a winning season. I can see them as a 9 to win team. So I guess push comes to shove. I'll give them the over.
Andy, what about you? Over or under that 9 games?
I think they get 10 games this year, looking at their schedule. They have a couple of favorable matchups, and I think they get 10 wins this year.
Would you bet that number at minus 140 right now?
No, if it was even, I would think about it, but minus 140, the juice is too high on that.
That's kind of where I am too. The juice is too high on it. Washington football team, 8.5. Over is minus 120. Under is plus 100. James, we'll go back to you for this one. We both kind of like them to win the division, so we like the over on that 8.5.
Oh yeah, this is I think a 10 to 11 win team, if not more. So I really like the over. It's juiced to 120, which isn't horrible.
AK?
I like the over on this as well. I think surprisingly you're going to get 2 teams from the NFC East making the playoffs this year.
Bold.
I can see it.
Worth betting, you think, at the minus 20?
Yeah, if you like them, I could see it. Minus 120 is not bad. Though, I mean, me and James talked about it last week. It's just hard for me to wrap up money for a whole season with the juice like that.
Makes sense. The New York Joe Judges, 7 wins. Over, minus 130. Under, plus 110. Give me the under and just hammer it, because this team just feels like they could just go so wrong so quickly. Daniel Jones, you don't know what's going on with him. Is he going to improve? He's a turnover machine. Joe Judge could be fired by the 3rd week, or like AK said, in jail for fighting coaches. Who knows? Barkley's back, I guess now, which everybody kind of went crazy about. Give me the under 7 wins on this team. James, what about you?
Yeah, like the under. Barkley, I think is going to be eased back in, so I don't think we're going to see him full go week 1. You got Kenny Galladay already with a hamstring injury. I don't think we're going to see him play a full season, unfortunately. I think the team's a mess already. Under.
Daniel Jones is on the bottom of piles of people fighting. AK, you with me and James on this with the under?
Yeah, I would hammer the under here.
Yeah.
Like you said, Joe Judge is getting fired. Daniel Jones, it's his last year playing quarterback in New York, and someone's going to take over a pretty decent skill group, but hammer the under this year.
Yeah. Last one is the Eagles, 6.5 win total. Over is -140. The under is +120. This is an interesting one to me because Jalen Hurts, if he does enough, they could sneak out 7 wins. But I still think I would take the under on this one. AK, what about you?
This is a stay away for me. I think they're going to be right at 6 or 7, and you're going to be sweating it right till week 17, or technically 18 now. But
Right.
I'm staying away from this line.
Yeah, I wouldn't make a bet on this. James, you like the over or under on this one?
I don't like the juice on the over, but I think this is a 7 to 8 win team. I think they have enough talent on the offensive side of the ball to get them there, but juiced at -140. I'm not going to put money on that for sure.
Yeah, I guess the big question is and who knows at this point, but if you think that the Eagles are going to make a trade for Deshaun Watson, does that change where your head is with the 6.5 win total? Because I mean, Watson is what? He's got to be worth 3 wins, right?
Probably somewhere around that.
Oh, yeah, especially over Jalen Hurts. I love Jalen as a person and as a fantasy player, but I would not want him as my quarterback for my franchise.
Right, and like John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, he tweeted out the other day that Deshaun Watson will never play for the Houston Texans again. So what that means, I don't really know. The whole situation is bizarre to me. They haven't said whether he's going to travel with the team. They haven't said whether he's going to play in the preseason. He's allegedly been dealing with ankle and calf tightness. So I don't know. But I think that if you have a strong inkling that you think, okay, he's getting traded to the Eagles, maybe bet this over, but maybe that's why the juice is at -140. Let's talk some player props for the year for the East. First one we'll talk about is Mr. Dak Prescott, his passing yard total. It is 4,795.5 yards. The over and the under are both -115. He seems to be the fantasy darling. He seems to be the guy that they're talking about could potentially lead the NFL in passing yards. I think that if people are thinking that this has to be an over, and he's going to have to be over 5,000 yards if he wants to lead the NFL in passing yards. So, James, where are you on this total?
I don't feel strongly either way. I would lean towards the over, just given that extra game that we keep talking about. I think it's going to be an explosive offense, so I'll lean towards the over.
AK, this has got to be a total that you want to hit the over with. Dak's your boy.
Oh, Dak's my boy this year. I mean, he was on pace for 5,200 yards last year. They had the extra game. Their defense is just as bad. They're going to be throwing the ball all over the place.
Yeah, I think that doesn't sound like bad logic to me. With that, obviously, if they're going to be chucking the ball around a lot, you got a couple of receivers there. And this is more, I just wanted to talk the difference because right now, it seems like CeeDee Lamb is the wide receiver with the Cowboys that is getting all the buzz. Everybody, everywhere you look, is talking about CeeDee Lamb is the receiver that you want to own for fantasy purposes. Right now, the yardage total for Amari Cooper is 125 yards more. So he's got a total of 1,175 yards, and CD is 1,050 yards. Comparatively, James, where are you on this? Are you a CD guy? Are you a Amari guy? Do those numbers look and make sense to you? Because to me, it's just crazy how much Amari doesn't get even talked about at all compared to CD Lamb.
Yeah, I've never been huge on Amari Cooper. I can't ever get myself to draft him. I just have this perception in my mind that he's not going to play a full season. He's already dealing with injuries already this training camp. So on this kind of season long total, I lean towards the under for Cooper, and I'm not to the point where I'm drafting CD Lamb in the second round in best ball and managed leagues where I think his ADP is heading, but I do think that he's going to have a better season than he did last year, and I like the over on his total.
AK, what about you? Who do you like? AK or
I like the over on both the guys.
over on both? Okay.
I like the over on both. I think I know you're talking about CD being the fantasy darling over Cooper this year, but I think just because Cooper doesn't get in the end zone, but he's going to break those yardage this year, I believe. He's just only going to score 4 or 5 touchdowns again.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, it's weird with Amari Cooper. I feel like he's like 1,000 years old, and he's only like 26 or 7 or something like that. Like, he's so young.
Yeah, he's been in the league since 2015. He came in at 21 years old. So
Yeah, that's wild. If we're talking to Washington football totals, let's talk about the main guy there, Mr. Terry McLaurin. His over-under is 1,180.5 yards at minus 120 for the over, minus 110, or excuse me, minus 120 for the under, minus 110 for the over. Is it crazy for me to kind of like the over here? Because I think that he could, once again, just be a stud.
I love Terry McLaurin this year. He actually has a competent quarterback throwing him the ball now, and it's going to be hard to, double him up all the time with Gibson back there. And now they got Curtis Samuel helping him out as well.
Yeah, more offensive threats. I like the over here. I just think he's going to continue to become a better player and more of a focal point in that offense. A lot of watching him, I had him in our redraft league last year, so I paid close attention to him, and he had several games where he's catching 5 passes for 25 yards, stuff like that, check downs, short passes from Alex Smith, and I think we're going to see a lot of longer targets. I think the air yards will be there this year. That'll be conducive for him hitting the over.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm a big fan of that. And kind of one of the things right now to watch right now in that receiving core is Curtis Samuel. So his total right now is 700.5 yards, but he is dealing with a groin injury and on the PUP list. With these soft tissue injuries, the Kenny Galladay with the hamstring, the Curtis Samuel with the groin, they tend to linger. I'm almost to the point where it makes me like the McLaurin over even more. It makes me kind of want to look at the under on Curtis Samuel, just because when is he going to be back? When is he going to be full speed? You got a guy like Diami Brown, who they drafted, who they're very high on, who's looked really good at camp.
He has COVID too, doesn't he?
What's that?
Doesn't he have COVID?
He just came off the COVID list.
Yeah.
I mean, literally today or yesterday, he just came off the COVID list as we record this. So, do either of you like that minus 115 number for the under for Curtis Samuel at 700 yards?
I think that Washington is going to take their time with him. Even if he misses like 2 or 3 games in the beginning of the year, they're going to have him come back fully healthy. And then, if he plays 12 games, I think he's going to get rated around 700, 750 yards. So it's a tough bet right now to bet under for me.
He's a guy that I like adding in best ball, and he'll be a later round target that I'll look at in managed leagues. I'm not going to place a bet on his over under. I just really don't know what to expect, but he's a guy that I'm willing to, have on my bench and hold there.
Fair enough. And lastly, we'll talk about the MVP numbers, and I think really kind of the only one that's worthy of talking about is Dak Prescott. He is plus 1,400 for the MVP. AK, are you betting it?
I like Dak to win the MVP this year. If he puts up the numbers that everyone in fantasy world thinks he is, and if they can, get the 1 or 2 seed in the NFC somehow, I very well could see the NFL giving it to Dak.
James?
Yeah, I think that's a bettable line for sure. I think he's in the offense that warrants that bet and can get him there. So I don't think it's a bad bet.
I don't either. I think that it's a quarterback-driven league. He's coming off of a horrible injury. He was on pace last year to smash numbers. It could be too if he just plays well enough and gets the Cowboys back to, a 1, 2, 3 seed in the NFC. People might just vote for him just because of what happened to him last year, and almost a sympathy bet. It seems like, if you want to play that narrative, but I could definitely see that, and the 1,400 number isn't terrible by any stretch. Let's talk NFC West. So we got the Niners, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Cardinals. This is one of the most interesting divisions to me. If you look at the win totals, they're all right around each other. The odds for winning the division are right around each other. It is going to be a tight division. There's going to be some decisions to make for the San Francisco 49ers, who are the favorite to win in the division at plus 180, and that is at their quarterback position. Let's just start right there. Is it Trey Lance or is it Jimmy G? Who's it going to be, James?
Oh, man. You got to go Lance, right? Like, how do you give up that much to just sit there and watch Jimmy G? How can you just parade him out? I mean, you can't, right?
AK, can you?
The Chiefs did it with the Mahomes, had him sit for a year behind Alex Smith. Jimmy G's kind of not as good as Alex Smith, but, that same type of player. He can
Did they give up as much?
49ers, and
I don't know.
It's tough. That's tough. It doesn't sound like we have a very definitive answer there, fellas.
So they have a very easy start to their schedule, right? I think, or is it the other way?
Right.
I think they have a very easy start to their schedule.
Very easy start.
So how can you just? I think you brought this up multiple times, AK. Like, how can you have Jimmy G start and then all of a sudden take him out if he goes 4-0 or 5-0 or whatever it is? Like, I just don't see Lance sitting on the sideline for an entire season. And I would think that they'd want to ease him into play with that early start.
I think it was the Lions. Like, you want him to start against the Lions, right? Like,
unless he loses and then he destroys all the confidence.
I don't know. I'd like the Lions' chances better if Dan Campbell was playing again.
Yeah, so I just think Lance is that ideal quarterback for what Shanahan wants, what he's used to. So you had posted a line, not to skip too far ahead, but it's Trey Lance to take the Niners first snap in the season. It's minus 400 for no, plus 300 for yes. I would bet yes on that.
I think I would bet yes too. And like Trent Williams, who is, their all-world tackle, came out and like said like he's a generational talent. Like said that about Trey Lance. Like you got like 38-year-old all-pro veteran lineman in the locker room coming out and saying you got generational talents, where Trent Williams is probably a generational talent himself, like at the tackle position. I don't know. That's going to be tough to put him on the bench in my eyes too. So
you already know what you have out of Jimmy G. He's been hurt, he's missed games, but what's going to change at this point?
Exactly. And you can really, with the soft schedule, you could really help Lance along with the weapons that they have with Debo and Ayuk and Kittle and Mostert in the running game that they have and the way Shanahan can call the run game. Like you can.
There's no tape on him.
Right. So I think you got to start him personally.
I love the 49ers stack in best ball, especially if you get, if you get Kittle, if you can get him in the second or, late second, early third, then you get Ayuk, Samuel, and then, Trey Lance later. If Trey Lance has a good year and he's as good as everyone's advertising with the Twitter hype, then, you have a dangerous best ball team right there. No
question about it. Let's talk division winners. So the Niners, like I mentioned, plus 180, Rams plus 190, Seattle plus 275, Arizona plus 650. Are we going to be a pro Arizona podcast once again this year? Yes or no? I need to know now because I looked at that. Come on. I looked at that Arizona and I was like, oh, I kind of like it.
They still have the same head coach, so no.
True.
If you gave me $100 and I had to bet a division winner, I would bet Arizona just because it is the best line and anything can happen in that division. Other than that, I don't really like any of the other lines, but I'm not a pro Arizona team. I just think that's the most bettable line.
In all seriousness, I don't mind the Arizona line, but I think I like the Seahawks number at plus 275. Like, I think that's an actual, like, bettable number. Like, who's the best quarterback in the division?
Matt Stafford.
Probably Russell Wilson. Like, Stafford's up there, but it's probably Russell Wilson.
This division is just awesome. Like I'm really genuinely excited to see how this division shakes out. There's a lot of great fantasy talent in this division. These lines are all super tempting to me. I do like the San Francisco Conference winner line. They were a game away from that 2 seasons ago. I think last year you just throw it out right with all the injuries. So I like their conference winner line. I don't hate Arizona to win the division. I don't like Cliff Kingsbury.
It's got too slick of hair for you.
He just sucks. There are just too many games last year we're watching just Kyler play where he doesn't adapt well if they get off to a slow start. Like sometimes I don't feel like he knows how to run the offense and what to do with them. And I don't know. They just come out flat way too many times and don't have answers. And I just have to blame that on coaching.
I can't say this with certainty, and I have no numbers to back it up because I haven't looked at kickers in forever. But if you draft kickers still, draft Zane Gonzalez because I feel like that dude kicked field goals from the 5 more than any kicker in the league. Like,
you know why? Because they kept trying to cram freaking Kenyon Drake into the end zone from the 1 yard line every time, and they couldn't get him in.
I know. He's on my dynasty team. I said, let's get a TD here, and we never got one.
Last year, I'm upset about Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury and how last season ended for my fantasy team. So I'm still bitter about that.
I was shocked that Kenyon Drake didn't get as many touchdowns with him being, the ideal power back that you want in a guy.
Yes, he is. He's the goal line running back that everybody dreams about when they think of one.
And now you have the same situation this year. James Conner is Kenyon Drake this year. It will be the exact same thing. Chase Edmonds will get third down work, catch balls. James Conner will be the short yardage guy, the goal line guy. He'll be the touchdown producer in that offense.
I tend to agree with you in that.
And I love James Conner in best ball.
Yeah, I do too. He's one of those guys you can get so late that has so much touchdown equity that he's a nice pick late. Conference winner, you mentioned you like the Niners. They're plus 650. You've still got the Rams at plus 650 too. Seattle is plus 1,000 and Arizona is plus 2,500. Honestly, I don't think that the Niners over the Rams are bad numbers. Let's just, if you had to pick a winner of this division, AK, and one of them to win the division, make a stand here. Who is it? Division and conference winner from this division, if you had to pick one.
The Rams for both. I'm really high on Stafford. I'm really high on McVay. I think they have a great defense, and they finally have a quarterback that's not going to, cost them games.
It's a pretty good argument. James?
I'll take San Francisco for both.
I'm going to take Seattle just because just to be different, and I'll take Russell Wilson, I guess, over everybody, even though Pete Carroll wants to run the ball, and who knows what's going to go on there. I just hope that it just doesn't – Pete Carroll doesn't mess things up. Let Russ play action, throw bombs to DK and Tyler, and you'll be good. We mentioned this a couple times. The win totals, they're all similar. The Niners are 10.5. The over is plus 110. The under is minus 130. James, you like either side of this 10.5 number because that's a pretty significant win total when you look at a division that could be very close with wins against each other.
Yeah, I think if I'm so high, if I think San Francisco has a chance at winning the conference, I think they're, at least a 13, 14 win team. So I like their over. I like the Rams over too. I could see those two teams getting into the playoffs. I wouldn't say I love it to the point where I want to bet the over, but I could see it going that way.
Hey, what about you? The Rams and the Niners are both 10.5. You liking either of these numbers?
I'm with James here. I like the Rams and the Niners both to go over here.
Would you bet either of them? I think they're pretty decent. It's at plus 110 for the Niners, plus 120 for the Rams.
I'm actually looking at parlaying those two together if I was going to bet it. I like them both that much. And I just, for a season-long bet, I kind of want a little more action on it.
Nice. Well, Seattle's the next one with 10 wins, and the over is plus 100, under is minus 120. If I like them to win the division, give me the over on this one. Again, just betting on Russ. I don't think three teams are going to make the playoffs. Maybe with seven teams making it now. I don't know.
I was just looking at that going like, I want to bet the over on every single team, but like, I just don't think that can happen. Something bad's got to happen somewhere. It's just so hard to predict. So I don't think I'll put any of my money on any of these lines, but if I did, it'd be San Francisco. That'd be the one I'd put money on. It's hard to bet against Seattle. Like, and I feel like it's a cop out to just say it's going to be a push, but like, I could really see them being a 10-win team.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. AK, what about you? Seattle 10 wins?
If it was 10.5, I'd hammer the under. I think they're going to be right at 10 wins. So I'm a no bet for Seattle.
You guys are soft. Take a stand. Just kidding.
I just said it's a no bet because they're getting exactly 10 wins. That's even harder. I'm betting the tie.
That's what I'm saying. We talked about this last week. Like, they should put odds out for a push. Like, why don't they do that?
It's like we said, roulette, the 0, double 0. You got to be able to bet it. Arizona is 8.5. I mean, if everybody in this division can't win 9 more games, like somebody's got to lose somewhere. Are we taking the under on this?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't feel great about it, but I just see if there's a team that just the wheels fall off, it's the Cardinals.
Yeah, that is
Kyler gets hurt.
That would be. I mean, you're obviously not banking on that, but that would be, if he did, that would be definitely an under. We already talked about Trey Lance getting the first snap. Let's talk about some more season totals, and we're going to talk about AK's guy, Mr. Matthew Stafford, passing yards, 4,595.5. The over is minus 130. The under is plus 100. We'll start with you, AK. Are you liking this over number? I have to think you are.
I am liking the over number. I don't think he hits 5,000 yards again in his career, but I think he's going to be really close in the 4,800 range. So I'm going to hammer the over on this one.
James, what about you? Do you like the over? And do you think that with Cam Akers being out, maybe they lean a little bit more on Stafford?
Yeah, I think that's a feasible argument to make. I would go over on this. I think we're gonna now that McVay has a competent quarterback that I think he can trust to air it out, not baby. I think we're gonna see Stafford put up some numbers in this offense.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Stafford could have a monster year if they really unleash him. The thing that I thought was pretty interesting when we looked at Stafford's number being pretty decently high, 4,600 yards, is the numbers for Kupp and Woods were not super high. They had Woods at 995.5 and Kupp at 1,005.5. And I feel like with this offense, everything funnels through those two guys in the pass game. So if you're liking the over on Stafford, you got to like the over on both of these passing receiving yards, right? Like, to me,
I love the over.
Smash.
I don't like
I think
Kupp.
Okay.
I never have. I guess it's more of a personal thing. Like, I don't really like Robert Wood. These are guys that I'm not. It's hard for me to separate fantasy football from this, and those are two guys that I can just never get myself to draft. It's like Amari Cooper. I just can't do it. I think the over for Woods makes sense. I mean, he's been over that number, or at least close to it. Last year, he finished just shy at 936, but 2 years prior, he's been over 1,100 yards. So I think that number's too short for Woods. Cooper Kupp, I just don't trust him enough as a player to bet the over.
AK?
I mean, James doesn't like Cooper Kupp, but he had 974 yards and only started 12 games last year. I think Robert Woods, he started all 16 and had the 940. I think with Stafford, they easily get a 10-15% bump in stats just because how good Stafford is, and I think it's easy over for both these guys.
I agree. I like
Yeah.
to run both for sure.
Cup has the stats to back it up. I don't know. I don't really like him as a player.
I mean, the thing is with those two for fantasy, it's hard to guarantee touchdowns with them. But if you're drafting them as their number 2 or number 3 receiver on your team, you have a nice floor every week for receptions and yards with those two guys.
I think I tend to gravitate towards players that have a higher floor, and I think guys like Cup and Woods can have a very low floor. I mean, they can give you absolute duds, and I tend to go for guys that are the baseline is like 8 to 10 point fantasy points a game. Guys like last year for me, it was like Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin.
Fair enough. I think that it'll be interesting to see where they go with Matt Stafford in this offense, and if they do decide to lean more on him without Cam Akers, I can go into leaning toward yes. So I like the over in both of those numbers, and I think that Kupp could absolutely smash in that role.
I think Higbee is going to be a more focal point of this offense
Didn't be forgotten
this coming season too.
Everybody loved him last year, and he got hyped up, and then like now this year nobody's talking about him really, and he's right there, right?
They drafted an early 3rd round receiver, Josh Palmer. They signed Deshaun Jackson. So they've got, they still have Van Jefferson, I think. Who do they let go of?
No, they have Van Jefferson. Josh Reynolds went to the Titans.
Josh Reynolds. There's a lot of receivers there.
Tutu Atwell is the one they drafted too. Josh Palmer was the Chargers. Tutu Atwell.
Okay.
Tutu Atwell is the one that's the size of your son.
He's not very. Was he like a 3rd round pick though, or 3rd or 4th round pick?
Yeah, but he was just like tiny.
Yeah.
He's like, why is they drafting him?
That's right.
Yeah. The other two like dynamic duo receiving group here in the division is DK and Tyler Lockett. Just real quick, wanted to touch on their numbers. DK Metcalf, his number is 1,255.5 yards. Lockett is 1,005 yards. I think I like the under on DK on this. Like almost 1,300 yards is a lot of yards. Looking at all the receiver totals, I think the highest that they had was 1,350. And to me, I don't think that DK leads the NFL in receiving yards. I just don't.
No, and he started, falling off a little bit towards the end of last year. I think they're trying to figure out how to cover him, and I don't think Lockett is a trusty number 2. He's going to have 2 games where he has 180 yards, and he's going to have 5 games where he just completely disappears. I wonder on both those guys.
You were breaking up a little bit, but I heard a little bit of Tyler Lockett slander, so I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest. But last year Lockett was right around that number. I think he's over the 1,000, but probably not by much. And I think the under for DK, which I guess, I do. I like the under. James, what about you?
Yeah, I'm on the under for DK. He was just over 1,300 last year, and I think it's going to be tough for him to get to that level again for a 2nd year in a row. Lockett is, I don't know, man. That's a coin toss. 1,005 is kind of low for a guy like him, but
yeah,
I'd lean towards the under. I don't feel strongly, but I just think we're going to see them run the ball quite a bit this year.
Ugh, that makes me want to puke in my mouth. Those words are just terrible. Nobody agreed. And that's not fun for anyone. Last one, Trey Lance, Rookie of the Year, plus 600. If he starts from week 1, you got to think he's got as good a shot as anyone to win this. Don't you, AK?
Yeah, I think of all the rookies, he has the best chance of winning 13 games and putting up numbers with it. I think that's an easy Rookie of the Year bet.
James?
Don't hate it.
Right. I think that you said it pretty good, AK. He's in the best situation, I would say, of like a Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields or somebody like that. You would have to have, a rookie wide receiver like a Jamar Chase just put up absolute banana numbers. to kind of threaten him, I think, because it's, it's always going to be the quarterbacks in the talk, but you'd have to have like a Justin Jefferson type year from a Jamar Chase to get in the good mix like that, or Najee Harris just go off in that Steelers offense or something. But I think I do like Lance a lot in that number.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is plus 300, and he's the number 1 pick. I just don't see him being twice as likely to win as Trey Lance.
No, Trey Lance has a better surrounding cast, I think, to get him there.
Agreed. All right, fellas. I think that'll do it. Any closing thoughts on these NFC East or NFC West type teams? Two pretty interesting divisions, really.
Yeah, I know I said I was super excited for the NFC West, but the NFC East, based on the dumpster fire that it was last year, I'm just curious to see if it's going to be how much better it's going to be this year. It can't be as bad as it was last year, but how much better can it get?
AK, any closing thoughts?
I'm excited to see what week Joe Judge gets fired.
Let's set a line.
Okay, yeah. What is the line? I'm going to say I'll set the line at. What are you going to say, 6?
I was going to say 6.5.
Yeah, I was going to say 6, so.
That's too low, I think. I probably would have put it more towards the middle of the season.
Dude, the veteran players on this team are going to have a straight mutiny. Like, there's guys retiring because they just not doing that.
We've started seeing coaches get fired earlier in the year, haven't we?
Yeah, for sure.
And they have Jason Garrett with them to being an interim coach. So I'm sorry, Coach Garrett, not Jason.
Coach Garrett.
When did the Texans coach get fired last year? It was pretty early, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like week 3. I think it was literally week 3 or 4, like Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
Where is Bill O'Brien? Is he still? He's got. He's probably in the NFL somewhere.
He's probably coaching a high school team.
Dude, I bet you.
I think he's in with Alabama.
Oh, that's right.
You might be right. Yeah.
He went to get resurrected by Nick Saban.
He's the offensive coordinator.
That's crazy.
He was a Penn State guy, right? Before.
Yeah.
NFL.
Yeah. All right, fellas, let's get out of here.
Saban and Belichick before.
Yeah, that's going to help your career just by name value, but showed he can't coach.
Yeah.
Well, not a good coach, terrible GM. All right, we're out of here. Make sure that if you're going over to Borderfield Sports, go to the merchandise section, buy your stuff, use the code Ballin15, get yourself 15% off at checkout. Appreciate everybody being here. Smash that like button and subscribe. Week 6.5, Joe Judge getting fired. Mark it down. Let's see what it is. Tell us in the comments which over or under that. Tell us in the comments. Thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you later.